Greetings, everyone. I am Mahogany Cobb, a first-year marketing student from Clemson, South Carolina. And this evening, we are so honored to have our guest speaker, Michelle Gethers, to speak for our March Closing Bell series. We're in for a real treat, and Mackenzie's going to come read her introduction.
Hi, everyone. How's everybody doing tonight? Good. Glad to see everyone today. I had the luxury to talk with her earlier, but to introduce you all to her. Her name is Michelle Gethers. She is ignited by a purpose to support others to reach their full potential. She serves as a trusted advisor and inspiring public speaker to social impact and corporate clients. As of January 2026, she is the co-founder of Next Up Collective, a support network and community for women navigating the complexity of careers, entrepreneurship, and more. Her career spans 40 years with the roles of Chief Diversity Officer and Head of Corporate Responsibility for Visa, CEO of United Way of Greater Greensboro, and General Manager and SVP for American Express. These roles represent a track record of global leadership across 6 continents. Roles represent building an agile and inclusive teams, driving philanthropic, anti-poverty, and risk management solutions. In summary, she leverages her corporate and social impact experiences to make life and business better. Michelle's accomplishments and career have featured in business publications and as a speaker at 2 regional TED Greensboro talks. She is a published author of The Next Level, a book that presents a perspective of faith and leadership. She also creates Monday Minute, which are weekly leadership insights posted on LinkedIn and Instagram. Michelle serves on the board of trustees of her alma mater, Long Island University in New York, Cone Health Philanthropic Foundation, and Bank Investments in Greensboro. She is the member of the Greensboro, North Carolina chapter of the Links Incorporated and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Her mantra is, people follow character, not titles. She is the proud mother of 2 adult children, Gregory and Sophia. I want to introduce everyone to Michelle Gethers.
Thank you very much for that introduction. And the way I like to introduce myself is I am curious, I am energetic, I am reliable, I am consistent, I am spiritual. Often we mix up who we are with what we do. And so I ask each of you to be reminded that when someone asks you to introduce yourself, they are looking for your I am statements. They are not actually looking for a summary of your resume or where you went to school. And I would like 2 people to pop up and tell me, who are you? I have all your names on this piece of paper, so to avoid being called on, can 2 people please stand up? Yes, you can stand up. I see you. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead, Mahogany.
I am loud. I am hardworking.
I am loud. I am hardworking.
I am an extrovert.
I am an extrovert.
And I'm a leader.
And I'm a leader. Thank you. Tell me your name.
Hello, my name is Julian Duncan. I'm a first-year honors accounting student.
Okay, hello, Julian.
Hello. So I am honest.
Honest.
I am accountable.
Accountable.
I am patient.
Patient.
And I am driven.
Driven. So I would like all of you to spend some time with your I am statements. It will differentiate you from 90% of the marketplace. If we walk across campus and ask people to introduce themselves, they will not tell us who they really are. And so lesson 1, be clear about who you really are. And I'm a woman from very humble beginnings. My family grew up in the segregated South and left the South because of discrimination and segregation. And they went to New York City in pursuit of the American dream, in pursuit of being able to raise their children so that they would not face discrimination. And so they got to New York City and they acquired employment as civil servants. And they raised us with 3 fundamental principles, and that is family, faith, and education. Although they never got the opportunity to go past the 6th grade because of segregation and lack of opportunity. So I was then charged with graduating from high school, but also going to a place called college. And as my mother said to me, I don't know what college is, and I've never been there. But I do know that people in the post office who have gone to college are doing well. And I want you to do well. And so I knew that I was going to this place called college. Through elementary school, through middle school, and through high school, I knew I was going to college. We didn't have the money to pay for college, but I was going. And so it is important to establish goals and aspirations as early as possible. And as college students, I would like 2 different people to pop up and tell me, what is your aspiration? 2 people, your names are on my list, pop up. Yes, thank you. And who's the other person? Thank you so much. With the beige top on, next to the woman with the gray top. Yes, that would be you. Thank you. Okay, tell me your name.
Hi, my name is Carson Spencer.
Carson?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Carson.
Junior accounting student from Chicago, Illinois, and my biggest aspiration is to live a very comfortable life led by purpose and faith.
Yeah, a comfortable life, purpose, and faith. Yes.
Hi, my name is Faith Howard.
Hi,
I'm a
Faith.
first-year honors marketing student. My biggest aspiration is, like he said, to be strong in my faith, and then also to live a comfortable life and eventually have a faith in the future.
Yep, good. And neither one of you followed the first lesson, which was, I am. You tell me what you do. You do student. I knew that already, but I don't know who you are. So remember, at all times, don't tell people what you do. Tell people who you are when they ask you to introduce yourself. Okay, so thank you for having aspirations. And so my aspiration led me to college. And I went to Long Island University in New York. And so as I think about getting to the next level, my education was the first step. It was the first step to me getting to the next level. And what I did is I studied accounting. So I'm a certified public accountant. All the accountants, raise your hands. Woohoo! So I studied accounting. And the first person who told me that I was not qualified to study accounting was Mr. Schaefer, my high school accounting teacher, who said that because I was not male and I was not Jewish, that I would have a tough time becoming a certified public accountant. And I went home. By now, unfortunately, my mom had passed away, and my aunt adopted me, my brother, and my sister. And I went home and I told her that he told me that I could not achieve my aspiration and that I didn't understand why. But she understood discrimination like I didn't understand yet. And so she went to the school the next day. And she said, why is that kind of conversation going on? Because everybody in the class laughed. They thought it was quite comical. And I knew that maybe this is something really good for me, since he decided that I couldn't be one because of my gender and my ethnicity. So that was the first time someone had put a mild obstacle in my way. So I went on to college, went on to receive my, did my 2 years experience. Now you have to have a master's. You did not have to have a master's at that time. Took the 4 parts, passed it, did internal audit, got my 2 years of certification. And by now I'm working at American Express. I get to American Express as an internal auditor, and my goal was to open my own CPA firm, all Black women in New York City. And then I discovered corporate America. And I said, now, wait a minute. I don't have any cash flow issues. I don't have to do all the heavy lifting. Somebody gives me a paycheck every 2 weeks for me bringing my 2 cents and my capabilities here. I think I like this. And corporate America is for some and entrepreneurship is for some. I decided that corporate was where I needed to be because I was coming out of generational poverty and I needed a guarantee that my core competency would be compensated. And I was going to do my thing. And so I did. So there I was at American Express and internal audit, raised my hand and said, I want to take my core competency to the next level. And so I applied for a role in risk management. Ask me how much I knew about risk management.
How much do you know about
I'm glad you asked. Nothing. But you know what? Someone gave me a chance. And I got to the next level. I took a demotion to get to the next level. So I took a step back. I was already a senior manager and they only had manager jobs open. But I said, Jim Panzarino, I said, Jim, how much money are you going to pay me? He said, Michelle, I will not give you a pay cut, but I cannot make you a senior manager. You don't know anything. I said, but I'm willing to learn. I'll take the manager job as long as you don't cut my rent because, cut my pay because I can't cut my rent. I took that job. I got my senior manager role back within 1 year. And before I could turn around, I had already risen to vice president. So sometimes you have to take a step down to take a step up. So not all growth is linear. Sometimes you gotta place a bet on who? Yourself. And I decided that I was placing that bet all day, every day, and it paid off. And so then I raised my hand again and said, I want to take my core competency as a certified public accountant, and I want to move into operations, and I want to be a people leader. In New York, I was a strategist, and I wanted to prove to myself, and it was a passion and a curiosity, could I lead large teams? Which meant that I had to relocate because all the strategy jobs were in New York, but all the operations jobs were outside. And it brought me to Greensboro, North Carolina. And I came to Greensboro, asked me how much I knew about running a large team in Greensboro, North Carolina.
How much do you know about running a large team in Greensboro, North Carolina?
Nothing. So it was a lateral move. Some would say, why would you relocate your whole family and your whole existence to move from side to side? Because I decided to place a bet on, and it paid off. 6 months later, I was promoted to the next level, and 18 months later, I was a senior vice president running the whole market. Sometimes you got to move side to side to take a step up. And they don't let me go to the third rung, but y'all pretend I went up there. Okay, so nobody gets in trouble for me climbing ladders that I didn't tell them I was bringing. Okay, Jason, see, I'm saving you. And then something not great happened. My daughter was diagnosed with epilepsy. I was on a business trip. I was traveling 60% of the time, India, Canada, across the United States. And I get a phone call after I was presenting to Ken Chenault, the CEO of American Express, that said my daughter was in duress. She was 5 years old. And they said, please meet us. And I said, I am in New York, call her father. And I could hear EMS in the background, and they said, "We're not calling anybody else. We have to go." The head of her child care jumped in the ambulance with her, and I was hysterical. I got into a car, went to the airport, and there was a ground stop. No plane was leaving New York. And I said, "Okay, God, I have one request. Heal her. Heal her. My life is out of order. I know it's out of order because work is everything. I am ascending. I have more money than I could ever have imagined. I have position and I have clout. I'm not willing to have my daughter suffer for my worldly desires. Heal her." The phone rings. It's one of my dearest friends, and she says, "What's up?" I'm hysterical. And she is like, "What is wrong?" I said, "Go to Moses Cone Hospital. Sophia is there. Rudy is not answering his phone. Gregory's in childcare, and he needs to be picked up. So I don't know what's going on, and it is pouring rain in New York." So she goes to the hospital. Sophia's been taken care of by physicians. And I cut a deal. I said, "God, you heal her. I leave corporate America." Sophia never had another grand mal seizure. They cannot figure out what caused them, but she had to be raised in a very cautious environment. If you have epilepsy, you should not be in water by yourself. You have to sleep with a monitor and a host of other things, but most of all, you have to be medicated to control seizures. I refused the medication because she was 5, soaking wet. I don't even think she was 45 pounds. She was just a skinny mini. And I said, "We're not going to experiment with pharmaceutical drugs on her young body. I will have to be at home." So I quit. I came home full time. Everyone thought that I was crazy. I left everything behind, all of the bonuses, all of the stock, etc., because there was a greater calling. And my faith told me that if God can feed the fowl of the earth, surely he will feed and clothe me and my family. And so I left, and I'm not going to lie to you. Look, the day after the last day, I was sitting at the house thinking, what have I done? I have never not worked. By now, she's in kindergarten, and I decide that I'm going to write a book. So I write a book, The Next Level, and it is about the attributes that I told you all about, who I am. So the first 25 chapters are dedicated to I am statements, and then the next 25 chapters, and all the chapters are only 3 pages, and the next 25 are about what does it look like when you perform at your peak anchored by faith? What does it look like? And so I wrote about what it looked like for me. And after that, I went on a speaking tour around the country. And then I opened up my own consulting firm. And one of my first clients was the United Way of Greater Greensboro. And I was helping them with leadership and strategy. And they asked me to apply to be their CEO. And I said no. And I said no because I had not reconciled who I am yet. I was still Miss American Express. I was still Miss Corporate Leader. I was still Miss Get It Done, trying to figure it out. And so I had the opportunity to work with them. And then I met a little girl named Zoe Best, who changed my life in 5 sentences. And those 5 sentences were, "Hi, my name is Zoe, and I was told to thank you. I live in public housing with my mother. I'm a straight A student, And my mom did not finish high school. And she is going to GTCC at night. And because of the work you're doing at United Way, I get to go to the Boys and Girls Club after school until my mom gets off the bus. I looked at that little thing and I thought, OMG, how could this be? The next day, I went and put my name in the hat and said, if you want a strategist to run the United Way, I'm your person. If you want a fundraiser, I'm not your person. And I took the job and became the CEO of United Way, where we focused on ending generational poverty. And it was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. That opportunity could not have come to me without the agony of having to go through a diagnosis of epilepsy and all the things that come with it. So sometimes the struggle is part of the rise. After that, I then worked there. We raised $90 million during the time that I was there. And I knew it was time to go when Mackenzie Scott, I got a call at the house. It was during COVID and said, we want to give $10 million to your work. We've been watching it. We like your leadership. We like the work that you all are doing. How would you like the check? In full? And what account would you like it deposited in? I've never had anybody call me and give me $10 million. I don't know about you. Probably you have, but I haven't. And I knew that that check represented it was time for me to go, that my work was done. So I quit. I left United Way. And I went to Visa to become the Chief Diversity Officer and Head of Corporate Responsibility, responsible for sustainability, social impact, diversity, and inclusion, and a foundation that was worth $500 million. And I had the opportunity to travel all over the world to be in service to others, to take true systemic poverty and address its root causes and bring together resources across the world. And I did that for a number of years, and then the call came, and it was time for me to GO. By now, it was 40 years of work, and I hung up my heels. And I stand here today because of all those diverse experiences. I wanted to be in service to my community for the time that remains for me, and not to chase, quote unquote, another corporate gig, and instead to help you to see that you too can be all that you want to be, but you gotta place a bet on yourself. Right? No one is against you. They are simply for themselves. Behind your name, you have the opportunity to put a question mark or an exclamation point. Which would you prefer? Are you doing everything to make sure that there is an exclamation point behind your name and not a question mark? Are your grades where they're supposed to be? Is your attitude where it's supposed to be? Is your engagement where it's supposed to be? Are your aspirations clear? Is your identity clear? Does every professor know your name and what you aspire to? Do you know how to ask for help? Can I trust what you say? Is your behavior consistent with your actions? So there are a host of ways to get that exclamation point. Now, we established that some of us are loud. I'm loud. Who else is loud? You know what I mean? Some of us are loud. That doesn't mean that we get an exclamation point. Because loud in and of itself is just not good enough, right? You gotta be about something. So all I'm asking each one of you to consider is putting a punctuation behind your name that really personifies whether I should place a bet on you. Are you placing a bet on yourself? Is your next employer, is your professor who's looking for an assistant or a researcher or someone to go to a conference, is it clear to them that you are the one, that is a good bet to bet on you? So in this life after corporate America, I decided that 40 years of work, me and God had another conversation before I handed in my resignation letter that was about why it was time to go, but it was not work done yet. So I started for the last 112 weeks, I have posted on LinkedIn a leadership insight. I don't know when I'm gonna stop, but I'm at week 112. That was this week. And this week was about, are you an exclamation point or a question mark? That was this week's insight. And I just feel deep in my heart that I owe it back to all the people who silently were the shoulders that I got to stand on. And many of them are no longer on this side of the earth. But it is because of them that I get here, and it is because of them that you sit there. And so how is it that we can give back? And not all of us have the opportunity to quit their job, right? So which means that I made a lot of money when I worked. And I suggest that you make as much money as you can to be comfortable, but to also have options. And unfortunately, in America, this is not a socialist economy. It will never be. It is very capitalistic. And no money, no mission. In nonprofits, we say, but I say in real life, no money, no rent, no lifestyle. There's a lot of no's, a lot of closed doors. So I would just say to you, spend time when you can and where you can investing in increasing your resources so that one day you can give back and have those options. So now I post, it's called Monday Minute. I post that every Monday. Sometimes it's Tuesday. And then on January 5th, I started a network with two colleagues of mine. We grew up at American Express together. So I spent 21 years at American Express in that journey, spent 8 years at United Way, and then spent 4 years at Visa. And before that, I spent several years as a public accountant. And what I would say to you is I get to live out my superpower, and I get to live out being in service to others at this point in my career. So very specifically, this network that we started is really about how do we make work for people? Work is not working for everyone. There are some people who are not doing well at work. And many of those people are women, and many of those people are people who are African American and on the African diaspora. That is unacceptable to me. It's unacceptable. And I'm willing to share the secret sauce. It doesn't mean that my story is your story, but insight, access, and exposure matters. It matters. No one is smarter than you. That's not true. Our brains are not smaller. They're actually probably bigger. But often we feel less than, and that is unacceptable to me. I watch it over and over and over again. So now I am dedicating this part of my life to being in service to others, very specifically through storytelling, through galvanizing, through sharing tactics and procedure, through introduction, through getting people into networks. I'm trying to leverage it all. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my truth and my story. Thank you.
My name is Drake Jackson, I'm a junior accounting student here, and I like sports, and I love my friends. That's what I love to enjoy. But my question to you is: you said that you got to travel and see the root causes of systematic poverty.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see what are some things that we can avoid, or things that we need to know about, so we can help others avoid systematic poverty.
Yeah. So in some cultures, women are oppressed. Women do not have skills for the labor market. And this is not to minimize the role of a man, but the statistical fact is when a woman lives in poverty, that means her children live in poverty. It's like, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. If mom is in poverty, her children are in poverty. In the United States, if a child is born to a mom who's in poverty, only 47% of those children actually leave poverty. Most of them stay in poverty. So we've got to do something about the core competencies of women around the world and access. Even in agrarian societies, we got to teach them how to farm. We have to have skills. This is a knowledge economy. It's a skill economy. You cannot make it without a skill. People don't want to hear that. It is the truth. You can't just be cute. You have to have a tangible skill. And it's really becoming tough. Like accounting majors, I know that your professors are talking to you about it. There's a lot of stuff that can be summarized by something else. I won't name the letters. So what incremental value are you going to create above what can be summarized through machinery? Right? So we have to really, really think about it. A tax return, the technical piece of it is done inside of an algorithm now. Or you can just put in the numbers and it spits out whether you owe or don't owe. No calculator needed. So those are examples of we've got to be a skill-based world, even in agrarian societies. And we also have to take away discrimination. We've got to stop having, women represent 4.1 billion people in the world. You can't kind of exclude them. You know what I mean? Especially if we want thriving communities. So it's going to be really important that we, even as you sit here as educated men and women, you know someone who did not go to college. You know someone who is actually making $7 an hour. How are we going to help lift them? And maybe everybody doesn't have to go to college, but there are skills that we must acquire. So the root causes are about we have not caught up with what the world actually requires us to be right now. Right? And it's going to change again. I say in 20 years, it'll be different again.
Okay, we'll take 2 more questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
I am Courtney McMurray, a marketing student, and my question is, how do you continue to refine your I am statement as you grow and evolve as a person into your career, and as you decided to go and have faith and be an entrepreneur? How did you refine yourself, and how did you, because I know we change every day. And so the I am is like, you could question yourself every single day in the mirror, like, who am I? Because you have to wake up and get to know yourself, just like everybody else has to get to know you.
Thank you very much. And tell me your first name. Courtney. Courtney, thank you for the question. And the reality is we are evolving, and your I am statements in your 20s is not your I am statement in your 60s. right? So here I am, I stand in front of you and I'm 60. My I am statements are not the same as they were when I was in my 20s. It is okay for your I am statements to change. But there is one fundamental truth about you that will always be true, and you should figure out what that is, right? So is it about your integrity? Is it about your honesty? Is it about your faith? There's one fundamental truth that you have to stand on, because it's going to be the difference between a question mark and an exclamation point behind your name. So figure out that fundamental truth. I don't know what it is, but you do. And for me, it was faith. Even when I lost my faith because of circumstances, even when I wasn't 100% embedded in it, it always existed. Where's my, oh, there she is.
Okay, one more question.
Hi, my name is Dylan. I'm a freshman honors business student. And I was wondering, what do you think is the most thing people get wrong about leadership? And what do you think is the most important thing that makes a successful leader?
Ooh. Dylan. The last question is a doozy. Here is what I believe is going wrong and has gone wrong with leadership. And it is trust. We don't trust each other. We trust people who look like us, and we don't trust people who don't. We trust people that we're familiar with, and we don't trust people who we're not familiar with. And the one thing about a leader must be trustworthy, and they must trust. They must distribute their trust. Because I want to work for someone who trusts me, right? I want to work with people that I can trust to get it done. Do they still do projects together where you have to get with, right? You got to trust the people. Do you have to trust the people on the team? Use your mic.
Yes. You can't hear it, but yeah.
Right? And when you don't trust, then what?
It falls through.
It falls through. So trust is a very important factor in leadership. And, trust and competency, trust and a number of other attributes are all related, but I think the underlying principle of good leadership is trust. That's why we're having an issue with politics and a host of other things, because the foundation of trust is not there. And you can't be led by somebody you don't trust. And you can't be a good teammate if there is not trust. So Dylan, I really think it is anchored on the leadership attribute that must be present if you are a leader or looking at a leader. It's trust. Thank you, and have a fabulous afternoon.
So, on behalf of the Deese College of Business and Economics, we wanted to present you with this gift and say thank you so much for coming to speak to us.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Thank you. Let's give her another round of applause, everyone. We also want to thank you all for coming to join us. Make sure you're here the third Thursday of next month, and we'll have another speaker series for you. So thank you guys.
And if you are a senior, I didn't bring enough books, but I'll give some books to Jason to give to everyone else who's here. But if you're a senior, come up and get a book. I want to give you a book.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think the thing that resonated with me the most was building an I am statement, especially as a senior who's entering the corporate world very soon this summer.
building an identity and grounding myself in who I am, I feel like that's something that I have yet to really do. So that was just a great reminder to me to really ground myself and ground my identity in a specific I am statement, so that, like she said, people can have an exclamation point behind my name when they think of me and not a question mark, because I'm so grounded in who I am as a person. So yes, that was the biggest lesson that I took away from today. So faith is my biggest driver in everything that I do, specifically the Christian faith for me. And so whenever like she was saying, in building my I am statement, my faith is the number one thing that's going to be integral to who I am for my entire life. And so yes, my faith is the biggest driver for me, because I know it helps me to depend on a higher source other than myself. And so it not only does it keep me grounded in my identity, but it also keeps me grounded in an identity that is higher than myself. And so it takes a lot of the attention and focus away from me, so that I'm working for the greater good of my faith, the God that I serve, and society in general. The biggest advice that I would give people is to stay true to who they are. I feel like coming into specifically A&T or any HBCU in general, it's very easy to get lost in what you see everybody else doing and kind of want to run after things because you see everyone else doing it. But I feel like what helped me to stay in my own lane and stay successful, and I have a job lined up for me after graduation. And so I feel like what really helped me with that was staying true to who I am and not trying to run after what everyone else is doing. I came in with the goal and I met that goal. And so I feel like the biggest thing that helps me to do that was staying true to who I am and not letting other people and what they're doing distract me.